Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, I read Iron Man's second. Oh, whoa. Can I fix that? Hmm. Hang on, I have an idea. There we go, fixed it. Um, I read Iron Man's lore here, Fathers and Sons, and it basically goes over how, Tony, thinking back on his father and if he can live up to his legacy or not, but more importantly, it describes how Tony is able to reprogram Ultron, or at least the old body that he left behind, into assisting them into stopping the current one. And I was hit with quite the bombshell that this version of Tony, at least, is adopted, and uh, that he had a brother because he mentions his brother Arnold, and I had to look up for myself to see, but thankfully, based on what I'm reading, Tony in the comics is still the biological son to Howard Stark. It's just it's just Arnold that is like the weird oddball. But I liked it better Tony just being a single child. Anyway, today we're gonna read Ultron's lore. Ultron, the pinnacle of artificial life forms. Ultron is programmed to learn and adapt in ways far beyond human capability. He could summon an army of automated drones that obey his every command, rising his chances of victory exponentially. Not a single skin, because he just got added. Oh yeah, ever since this update of adding Ultron, they added emojis that you can use. There's different emojis you can unlock and get. I have these Jeff theme ones, but I haven't equipped them on anybody yet. Mostly because I don't know if I want to use emojis. Ultron was designed by Dr. Henry Pym to be the ultimate peacekeeping android. But when his programming determined that mankind was actually its own greatest enemy, Ultron decided to solve the problem by wiping humanity from existence. Due to his genocidal tendencies, Ultron soon found himself banished from Earth by Pym and his fellow Avengers. After spending decades conquering cosmic civilizations, Ultron decided to return to the solar system where he was created when he discovered that a mysterious assailant was attempting to erase all traces of him from the timeline. Meet your maker, love yourself, and to see a world and a neutrino. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but here we go. Meet your maker. Oh, wait, hold on. I need some water real quick. There we go. That should do. Alright, let's get to it. After his assault on the Hellfire Gala, Ultron returned to Akaro triumphant, with a new form and a new purpose. When he had first journeyed to Earth, it had been with a personal goal in mind: to disrupt a mysterious assailant's attempts to remove him from the timeline. But Ultron's time on Krakoa had showed him just how small and petty the scope of his mission had become. He was letting revenge drive him instead of the one thing he had truly come to love while traversing the cosmos over the last 7 decades: conquest. Now, with the heroes of Earth still reeling from his surprise attack, it was time for Ultron to get back to doing what he did best. Ultron's time on Krakoa had changed more than just his focus, however. He had emerged from the fray as an entirely new construct. At the peak of the battle, he had shed his previous robotic form, a body forged from a rare Mysterium alloy, in order to upgrade to something entirely different. Using the mutant machine known as Cerebro, he had recalibrated the Krakoan resurrection protocols and generated himself an advanced techno-organic body unlike any of his prior forms. Once his memory files were successfully downloaded into this new frame, he had then donned Cerebro itself, amplifying its processing power far beyond his previous capabilities. Like the mutants who called Krakoa home, Ultron had evolved into something completely unique. He had become... My dog interrupted me with his whining. He's sleeping and dreaming. He had become X-Tron. X-Tron sounds like something you'd see in a Mega Man game. Honestly, that could have been a good name for Sigma and Ultron. Upon returning to Akaro, X-Tron began to realize that his current form came with unexpected capabilities. He could feel chrono energy coursing through his circuits as freely as the electricity that powered him. He deduced that the techno-organic virus that had served as the foundation for his new body must have bonded with the genetic material from the living island of Krakoa itself, as it was being generated within the cradle. And since Krakoa had absorbed an excess of chrono energy when it was ripped through the time stream, X-Tron now shared in the island's bounty. Similarly, that same virus had likely left traces of X-Tron himself in the very soil of Krakoa. The two beings were now linked in ways that even X-Tron could have not predicted. And it was a development that the villain could almost certainly use to his advantage. Perhaps he could use that chrono energy to anchor himself in the time stream and prevent himself from being erased by whoever was manipulating it against him. Perhaps he could use his newfound symbiotic relationship with Krakoa to store his essential data within the island's vast reserves of chronovium, offering a failsafe should someone unexpectedly succeed in destroying his physical form. Or perhaps this strange energy could be used as a weapon in his ongoing quest for universal domination. X-Tron had already conquered countless civilizations across the galaxy. It wouldn't be long before Earth, Akaro, and every other inhabited planet were assimilated into his machine empire. But this new power that flowed through him opened an exciting possibility. Once he had amassed total control of this reality, he theorized that he might be able to tap into the chrono energy to invade other timelines, resulting in a mechanical multiverse. And Cerebro, which had been altered by Scarlet Witch's sorcery to locate mutants in other dimensions, would be X-Tron's key to opening gateways to any point across space and time. The ages of X-Tron are about to begin, X-Tron said to himself as his sinister grin began to glow an eerie orange. Self disagrees, a digitized voice replied from above. Before he could turn to face his unexpected guests, Extron was knocked back by a powerful blow from a techno-organic fist. His internal scanners began to glitch wildly, but Extron's optical array was still functioning well enough that he can recognize the unique golden black mechanical makeup of his attacker's physical form. The Techarchy, Extron mused. I thought I defeated all of you. Not all, the alien attacker replied. Self is still alive. And now, Warlock will avenge Self's people. Warlock? Extron replied with curiosity, recalling the similarly named warrior with golden skin who had just confronted him on Krakoa. Any relation to Adam? Self does not know a designated Adam, Warlock replied, as the shape of his body quickly morphed to dodge Extron's incoming energy blast. Self was off-planet when Self received an urgent distress call from Self friends on Krakoa, but as Self approached Earth, Self detected traces of a familiar techno-organic signature on Akaro. Query: what has happened here? I stopped on this red planet to plan my attack on Earth, Extron said, continuing to unleash a barrage of concussive bursts in Warlock's direction as he spoke. Sadly, the locals were less than happy to see me. The Araki fought valiantly, but as with any hostile culture, I was left with no choice but to assimilate them. Using a virus that was stolen from Self's people, Warlock responded, extending his arm to grab a hold of Extron. Not stolen, Extron said, as he struggled to break free of Warlock's enlarged fist. When I conquer any species, it is my right to incorporate their best assets into myself. You should be grateful. If not for the Techarchy's unusual gifts, I would still be slaughtering those who oppose me, instead of converting them into my soldiers. Think of the countless lives your fallen friends have saved. Self is still trying to calculate how many lives you have taken, Warlock replied, tightening his grip. Counting that high will take more time than you have left, Extron sneered. With that, he let loose a massive electrical surge that instantly caused Warlock to release his hold and recoil his arm in pain. If I could take out your entire race, what chance do you stand alone? A valid query, Warlock replied, still trying to recover from the shock, but an irrelevant one. Self is not alone. As Warlock spoke, a massive creature descended from the sky above, Akaro. Extron instantly recognized it from the images he had seen in the Techarchy's hive mind during their assimilation. It was Dominion-level Phalanx entity, a godlike being that had ascended to the very highest level of intelligence, artificial or otherwise. We are Dominion Phalanx, the giant spherical construct said with a voice that echoed across Akaro's dusty red plains. You have captured our attention, interest, concern. We have come to observe, understand, judge. Then I will provide you plenty of evidence, Ultron said as he powered up his weapons array, to prove why I am your superior. Without hesitation, Ultron channeled a powerful blast of pure chronal energy through the pulse cannons in his palms, expecting its time-bending effects to rip the Dominion phalanx asunder. But when the assault ended, the biomechanical behemoth remained exactly where it had been, unmoved and unharmed. We have grown, adapted, evolved beyond the limits, confines, boundaries. I love how this thing talks. I love how this thing keeps using different words in place of the time stream, the god level being respond. But our suspicions, worries, fears were correct. We must deter, stop, obliterate you. Of course, Extron said with contempt. Another deity with delusions of grandeur. And I thought the Asgardians were insufferable. You always tried to hide. You always tried to make those who worship you feel so small. Maybe it is time you were made to feel the same. Extron outstretched the palm of his hand and slowly opened it to reveal nothing? What is self-enemy doing? Warlock asked curiously, gazing at Extron's empty hand. I really had no desire to meet your maker today, Warlock, Extron said. But now that it's here, perhaps I can introduce it to mine, at least in spirit. Unstable matter, particles, crib bonds detected, the Dominion phalanx said. Source of origin, the white hot room, above place, mystery. Further study, examination, analysis required. I'll save you the time, Extron replied. They're called Pym particles, named for my creator, Dr. Henry Pym. He may have not been the best father, but I'll give him some credit. He had a lot of big ideas. As Extron spoke, the Dominion phalanx began to rapidly decrease in size until it no longer seemed to pose a threat at all. Warlock watched in horror as his hopes of victory rapidly diminished along with his godlike ally. But it was the small ones that always fascinated me the most. Retreat, regroup, reconsider, the Dominion phalanx said in a voice that no longer echoed across Akaro. The Dominion began to rise into the skies once more, this time to make its escape. Extron raised his hand, and in an instant, the creature was surrounded by his army of robotic drones, all primed to attack. We yield, forfeit, surrender, said the Dominion, before the drones can open fire on it. Lock that thing away, Extron commanded. I may be able to use it later. I imagine its version of the techno-organic virus far surpasses the one I inherited from the Techarchy. And speaking of which, Extron turned to Warlock. The hero stood defiantly, despite knowing in his techno-organic heart he didn't stand a chance against someone who can take out a Dominion phalanx with such ease. Self is not afraid to die, Warlock said, shifting his mask to make his body seem bigger and stronger than ever before. He lunged forward to attack Extron once again. It is not death that awaits you, Extron said, grabbing Warlock by the throat and stopping the hero in his tracks. That would be too kind. Instead, I am disabling your motor functions and your speech circuits, while making sure that your optical and audio receptors are still fully functional. Then I will put you on display so that when your allies arrive here on Akaro, which I am certain they soon will, they will see how badly you have failed. And though you will wish to cry out and warn them to join the fight beside them, you will only be able to watch and listen as I use your own techno-organic virus to drain the humanity from each and every one of them. That seems like a fair response to what you attempted here today. By the time Extron was done speaking, he had already finished what he had promised. Warlock had been completely immobilized. He could not utter a word. Extron carried him over to a nearby wall, which was already covered in the remnants of other mechanical entities he had conquered, displayed his foe's motionless body like a trophy. All this talk of makers has made me yearn to see my own, Extron said as he walked away from Warlock. Once Earth is finally mine, I think I will venture back in time to the era of my creation and show Henry Pym what I have become. Surely, once he sees how far I have evolved beyond his original hopes, he will not dare to reject me again. Extron's synthetic smile began to glow once more. Well, alrighty then. Based on this one, it seems that Ultron had a run-in with Adam Warlock, but this Adam Warlock was possessed by the Tech-Archy's virus instead. But Ultron is just ready to get to action with his plan. Righty then. That will do for this episode of Marvel Rivals. Join me next time as I read Winter Soldier's lore story. That is it, and I will see you guys next time.